Hi everyone and welcome to the HashiCorp Certified Terrafrom Associate certification based video course. I am Zeel and I am going to be your instructor throughout this course. So nowadays, if you explore the job market related to wide variety of domains like cloud, DevOps, security, one of the common tools that organization actively uses to create and manage infrastructure is Terraform. And this is the reason why if you'll explore the job description associated with roles like DevOps, Terraform is one of the common tools that you will see that organization expects the candidate to know. And this is not surprising primarily because of the immense benefits that Terraform brings while managing the infrastructure. So before we go ahead and look into why Terraform has become one of the de facto standards associated with the infrastructure as code tools, let's explore some of the job descriptions associated with some of the industry leaders here. So the first one that we are going to explore, again this is an older position but our aim is to look into the job description here, is Netflix, and the role here is Senior DevOps Engineer. Now if we go a bit down in your experience here, apart from your knowledge of AWS, GCP, etc., you see Terraform is mentioned here. The second JD that we are going to explore is associated with Microsoft for Azure infrastructure. Now, if you look over here, it states deep knowledge of at least 3 technologies, one among them being ARM templates or Terraform. The third role is in Apple, associated with Cloud Software Engineer. And if you look into the key qualification here, one among them is Terraform. And the last one that we are going to explore is associated with NVIDIA. Again, this is Senior Software Engineer DevOps. And if you look into what they are expecting, you see Terraform is in the list. So there is a reason why all of the top organizations across the world are using Terraform for managing the stack. And it's not just the top organization. Most of the organization nowadays, for the role of DevOps, Terraform is one of the key requirements that is commonly seen. So with this base set, let's look into what Terraform is in the first place and what is the advantages that it brings to the organization. Now, my personal journey in Terraform began when I was given a requirement to implement AWS hardening guidelines for our AWS accounts. So the organization that I was working with, we used to store sensitive information like credit card, etc. So we had to go through wide variety of compliances like PCI DSS, RBI, etc. So security was one of the major requirements that we had to work on. So as part of implementing the AWS hardening guidelines, that time we used to follow the CIS benchmark extensively. So in CIS benchmark, there were 100 plus pages of guidelines that were recommended. And if you try to implement it manually, it used to take 2 to 3 days to implement it in one account. Now let me quickly show you on how exactly this looks like. So if you look into the CIS benchmark associated with AWS, you see they have a lot of requirements that you have to ensure that you set as part of your account. It is related to the identity access management, EC2, RDS, etc. And as of now, you have 250 pages. Back then when I had been implementing CIS, we had close to around 120 pages. And here they have basically given you what are the things that you have to verify and set to ensure that proper hardening guidelines are in place. So apart from implementing all of the pointers mentioned in the CIS benchmark, we had our own set of benchmarks. So it used to take quite good amount of time. Now, if there was only one account where the hardening guidelines would have to be implemented, things became much more simpler. But slowly, since the organization was growing, the number of AWS accounts were also growing. Initially, it was 1, it went to 3, it went to 10, it even went to 50. And in the later organization that I was working with, we had more than 100 AWS accounts. Alright, so when the number of AWS accounts grew, it became very difficult to go ahead and manually implement the AWS hardening guidelines for all of the accounts. And I'm more of a lazy person. I do not really want to do the same thing in a repeated fashion all the time. So in order to avoid this manual task, we had introduced Terraform for our organization. So let's look into the challenge that Terraform allows us to solve. So at a high level overview, Terraform allows us to create reusable code that can deploy identical set of infrastructure in a repeatable fashion. This is very important part to know. So let's quickly understand this. So let's assume that you have Terraform and you have set of AWS accounts. So in this diagram, there are 100 AWS accounts. So what you do, you create a set of rules in Terraform. So creating rules, initially it might take time, but on the longer run, this will make your life easier. So what you do, you create the hardening rules in Terraform one time, and then you ask Terraform to go ahead and deploy it in 100 AWS accounts. So once you write the rule, irrespective of how many accounts you have 100, you have 500, you have 1000 AWS accounts, it does not really matter. Terraform can go ahead and deploy all of the rules in the infrastructure that you choose. And this makes life very simple. So let's go ahead and quickly look into the hardening rules that I had created during those times. So within here, I have a folder of AWS hardening here, and you see there are a wide variety of rules that have been added here related to CloudWatch, related to CloudTrail, related to IAM, KMS, and various others. Again, these are some of the sample rules that I just thought that will add as part of today's demo so that you understand on what exactly Terraform tries to do. So what you need to do, based on the benchmarks that we had during those time, we converted all of the recommendation to Terraform code, and then we deployed Terraform code to all of the AWS accounts that we had. Now, once you have written the Terraform code, you don't really need to go ahead and implement things manually. The code is there. All you'll have to do is to tell Terraform to which AWS accounts the hardening rule needs to be deployed, and that's about it. Alright, so I hope with this you understood the challenge that Terraform manages to solve. And it's not just associated with hardening rules. If you want to create infrastructure, if you want to manage infrastructure, all of these things Terraform does it in a wonderful way, and it can make your life very simple. So let's do one thing. Before we proceed further, let's have a quick demo associated with how Terraform can deploy the resources in the targeted environment so that our concept can become much more easier. So for today's demo, I have a AWS environment that is available over here, and what we want is we want Terraform to go ahead and create the resources in our AWS environment. We are not going to do things manually. Alright. Now note, this is just a demo so that we understand what Terraform allows us to do. Now I have written a simple Terraform code related to virtual machine here. So if you will see, this is a very simple code that creates a virtual machine in AWS, and I also have a code that creates a firewall rule in AWS for the virtual machine that the Terraform will create. Now, instead of this, you can also have a complex 3-tiered infrastructure or hundreds of hardening rules, etc. It does not really matter. As long as the Terraform code is present, Terraform can go ahead and it can deploy it in the infrastructure that you choose. For example here, let's go ahead and we'll just do a Terraform apply. So what Terraform will do, it will read the code that you have written and it will deploy it in the infrastructure. So here it is asking for confirmation related to the infrastructure creation. I'll just say it as yes. So now you see Terraform has started to create firewall rules in AWS, and also Terraform has started to launch a new virtual machine in AWS. So if I'll just quickly refresh this, you see a new virtual machine is created called as automated VM. And if you look into this virtual machine, if you look into the firewall rules, there are certain rules like port 22, port 443, which is nothing but the one that we have defined in the Terraform configuration. You see 443, 22, etc. Alright, so I hope with this you got the basic idea on how Terraform can read the configuration that you have written and it can deploy it to the infrastructure that you choose. Now, one of the great benefits due to which Terraform has become so popular is that it supports thousands of providers. So it's not that Terraform works only to create and manage AWS resources. Terraform works with AWS, Azure, GCP, Kubernetes, Docker, Alibaba Cloud, Oracle, and there are thousands of such platforms that Terraform supports. And the second important benefit here is that once you learn the core concepts of Terraform, you can write your Terraform code to create and manage infrastructure across all providers. So it is not that you have a different Terraform concept for AWS, different concept for Azure, etc. The core concept remains to be the same across all of the 1000 providers. you learn core Terraform concept, you will be able to write the infrastructure for all of the providers that Terraform supports. Now, due to this immense benefits that Terraform provides, as we have discussed, it has become one of the de facto infrastructure as code tool for the area of DevOps. And not only DevOps, even if you're working as a security engineer, Terraform is being used extensively to create hardening rules for AWS, etc. Now, due to this immense popularity that Terraform gained, HashiCorp decided to release the official Terraform certification to certify students related to core Terraform concepts and skills. So if you're HashiCorp certified in Terraform, organization knows that the candidate has the basic knowledge to write and implement Terraform to manage the infrastructure. So discussing about what exactly this course covers, note that we start this course of Terraform from absolute scratch. So no prior Terraform or coding knowledge is required here. And once we understand the basics of Terraform, then we go ahead and move into much more advanced topics here. And the second important part that you should know is that we cover all the topics associated with the official Terraform exams. So before we conclude, I also wanted to show you the official Terraform certification page. So the name of the certification is HashiCorp Certified Terrafrom Associate. And again, there are a lot of objectives and requirements. We'll be discussing about this in great detail in the upcoming set of videos. Now, before we conclude, I'll also introduce about myself. I primarily work as a DevSecOps engineer into the area of defensive security. Teaching has been one of my passions since a long time, and even before I started with the online video courses, I used to conduct a lot of workshops and seminars related to security, Linux, networking, etc. across multiple universities in India. Now, regarding the online presence, I have a total of around 16 courses with more than 340,000 students as of now. The most important here is that I am HashiCorp certified against the Terraform. I also am HashiCorp certified against various other tools like Vault, Console, etc. I am also AWS certified for the certifications related to DevOps Professional, Solutions Architect Professional, Advanced Networking Specialty, Security Specialty, etc. Apart from that, I am a Red Hat Certified Architect with more than 13 other certifications related to the Certified Ethical Hacker, PCI DSS certifications, etc. And part-time, I work as a security consultant. So that's a very high-level overview on what Terraform is all about and some of the advantages that it brings to the organization. From the next video onwards, we'll go ahead and explore Terraform in more detail. As of now, we'll conclude today's video. Personally, I am very excited for this course and I hope you are too.